I'm Karma. Today's topic that I'm going to discuss is about understanding the basic delivery, and it's by TIJ-TECH. So, small businesses that works on small apps that you see on Google Store, Play Store, or big businesses that runs big companies that influences us in our day-to-day activities based on software mechanism are not one day hard work that came to life. It all depends upon a fixed system where it relates to a successful goal. So for that, I'm going to talk about how a software lifecycle works. The start of its date till the end, there are components that it follows so that we would have a product at the end. So for that, I'll discuss about the outlines that I'll be discussing in introduction, workflow, key characteristics of a successful project foundation, software development cycle, and lastly, analogy in actual environment. You might have observed, and if you think you will know that researchers that's out there, great lecturers, scientists, in this era, in this time, all became to that condition because of their research and their dedication. So this dedication, this type of work has uh, is possible all because of the current time where we have access to internet. So every time you want to search something, you go into Google. So when during in your college time, what would you do? If you receive an assignment, you'd go into your browser and search for it. So Google is a software, it's a platform that provides you with data. So this is one type of software. It did not exist at a certain instant. It was brought up by a group of developers working together to give a very attractive product that all the people in the world will find it very amusing to use. So in this session, I'll be talking about how a software goes from its beginning to its end, from an idea to the end result. So if you are working in a tech company, or if you are an aspiring developer, if you're working on a project, software development cycle is essential because it will give you the footstep, it will give you the foundations of how you can build a successful and a very productive, efficient result at the end of your project development cycle. So in addition to that, there are many analogies in the internet that if you go to, you will find that. But the basic of any project are based on the basics of this foundation, where a customer can be anyone. It can be an entrepreneur, it can be yourself, a person with a business idea, a person who wants to start a business and have an idea. And if that idea is eligible, if that idea is eligible for further development, they go with that idea to a tech company. That tech company will analyze the idea, develop the software based on that idea, and after the tech company does all the analogy and the end result will be the product that the customer desires. So this is a workflow, normally what a development lifecycle works on, but it's not an ideal condition. Why? Because the customer asks the tech company of an end result and the tech company gives that end result, but the cycle is incomplete. Why? Because in an ideal workflow, what happens is that a customer who has an idea, a business idea, goes to a tech company to further nurture that idea. And the tech company focuses on that idea, works together in collaboration with the customer to give a result. But that's not the end. When the result has been received by the customer, what the customer wants is that a further upgrade of the feature. If the business idea goes into an empire, if it develops into a further developing stage, the customer would want further facilities available on the business idea. So that business idea will need maintenance. So we have a complete cooperation collaboration between a customer and a tech company, and that is maintenance. Through maintenance, customer gives an idea, the tech company takes that idea and processes the result, and so on. The maintenance is also being held up by the tech company which provides the service. That's an ideal basic workflow of how a software development lifecycle works. And there are key characteristics for a successful project foundation. As a general, it's not a stone-based key points that we have to follow, but these are general terms that will help in getting a successful project. First is interpersonal relationship. Customer and the tech company will work on the same idea, focus on one thing, and they will work on making that project into a successful one. So that's interpersonal relationship. The customer and the tech company which are working on the same business idea have no doubt in each other's relation between production of the idea till the end of the product. Next one needs a skilled developer. No matter how good a business idea might be, if the recipient end, which is the tech company, fails to deliver the desired product, then the project foundation is not met. So for that, we also need transparency. Whatever the work that has been done by the tech company should be timely reported uh, without having any interaction limitations between these two. And lastly, not lastly, but we need a backup plan. For example, if the tech company receives the idea and is not able to produce the or finds out that there is some bug inside the software or is not able to give the most efficient result, we need a back plan. Back plan backs up and gives confidence to the customer about the tech company, and the trust between these two will gain tremendously. And lastly, scheduled delivery. On time, on time delivery is a must for gaining the trust of the customer. If you have these key points as basics of a project foundation, then it will lead us to a successful project. Now, let's talk about software development lifecycle. Generally, any company, if you work on any big industries, they will follow. If they are developing software or a project, they will generally follow these 7 phases. One, planning, requirements, design, implementation, testing, deployment, maintenance. These are the 7 essential phases, basic essential phases that a software development lifecycle goes through its entire process. So let's analyze the actual environment of how a software is developed from starting from the customer section, from receiving to the tech industry till the customer again. So what happens? Planning as one of the basic features of what software development lifecycle works on. What does planning means? Well, the customer that has a business idea contacts a tech company and discusses the outline of the idea, which means that the details of the idea or the rough idea of what the customer wants is being explained to the tech company, where then the tech company comes up with a rough design of how to proceed. For example, if the customer is starting a restaurant and he wants a website, a software which gives the information about the food and the prices of the food, categories, and many desserts that it's going to present in the future. So for that reason, the customer goes to the tech company. So the tech company gives a basic background of how it's going to work. Let's say they discuss that your software, your website is going to include a home button, a food section where it will describe the types of food in there, and it will also contain the prices. About page, which is about the restaurant that you will be running on, and then at last a contact page to contact the information about your restaurant. So next, after the planning has been completed, next is the requirements analysis. The requirement analysis requires you to discuss the outlines that has been mentioned, like home, food, a section, about context in further deep detail. like home. So the tech company discusses and gives a formulates a plan and shows a design saying your home button will include a about page, a contact page, a food section, and the contact section. And then your food section will have, depending upon the type of categories that you have, like pizza, burger, fries, and liquor. And then about page will contain the mission and vision of the restaurant that has been started. And last, it will have a contact section, and it will include a sidebar which will give you easy access requirements to your for easy accessibility of what the customers and the client will interact on. So now next is left with the design. Now that the plan has been formulated, the requirements has been made, the design includes what type of color do you want for your website to be. Should it be white in the background with a red tab button, with a black sidebar, with Albric font and a white font? So that's what design is called. They will discuss on the color of the website that they want to discuss on. Then they will show you the entire format of how it will be placed. Like the home button will be placed at the top with follows along with the food section, about and contact page. The sidebar will be at the left hand side of the page, and you'll have the drop down list of all the components of each tab buttons in this format. So they will discuss about the color and the format of how it's going to be presented. Next, they'll discuss about the type of code that they're going to use. Well, is it Java because it's popular these days, or is it Python because it's easy to use, or is it Ruby on Rails, which gives a user interface very easy? So the design analysis will be done within the tech company, and it will be brought out to the customers for further inquiry, questions, and answers, so that further informations and details can be acquired. Then after the design has been completed, now it's solely left to the tech company to do all the works that are mandatory. So implementation requires coding, and then they will do the testing. So the environment that the tech company will choose usually are three. One is the development site, where the development environment will be created. Many developers will work on small features, like some developers will be working on homepage, some developers will be working on sidebars, and some developers will be working on the entire uh, color scheme of the web page. So this is the phase where the developers will be working on the idea and plan that has been described. That is called the development environment. So after the development environment, the coding has been completed. They will do testing. These people will do the testing if it works or not, if there is any problem or not. If there's no problem, then it is proceeded to the staging environment. Staging environment means that it is a much more robust environment where it's close to the production environment. Means that it will have much more features to test on. Like in development environment, you had just programmers that were testing the test uh, group that was testing the code. But in staging environment, you'll have multiple people that will be testing on your code, and the environment will be much more reliable to be used for testing. And they will search for any bugs and issues, and if there are any, they will go back to the development site, development environment, where the developments will further work on to solve those bugs and issues. So where after the staging has passed, after development, after staging, then comes the real deal, where it's the deployment part. That means it's giving to the customer, telling that your work has been completed. But before that, what they have to do is get it to the production environment. Production environment is the environment where the customer will be working on. So the code, the website that has been completed will be deployed on the production, which will be more robust compared to the staging environment. That means more features compared to the staging, compared to the development side. So further test will be done. So to find any bugs, if there are any bugs, then it will be brought back to the developers, and the developers will take that code and further fix the issue and send it back to staging, and then to development, and then to production. That's how the entire cycle works. So if there is no problem between the development and staging and the development side, then the software is handed to the customer, where then the customer will also do a test for themselves. They will hire a third party a tech company to test the software, or they will have their own personnel to test the software if it's working correctly. So if it works correctly, then the handover will take place and the customers will accept those software. So if all of this completes without any issues, and last, it's the maintenance. The maintenance part is the most important part because it gives a connection between the customer, a reliable connection between the customer and the company that has worked on the software. So maintenance, what happens is that sometimes the production, based on time, based on new features that are every day upgrading on the internet, will need to upgrade according to those features. So the tech company will advise the customers about those issues and then do patches. They will upgrade their software. Or if any problems acquire that requires immediate fix, the company will do hot fixes. That means fixes that require a maximum of 1 day or a minimum of 1 to 2 hours to fix the problem. And then after that, it's monitoring the software from the end to the beginning to the end. So this is how a production software development production cycle works. So it starts from the customer end with a business idea, and then it goes to a medium where a tech company issues developers to work on that idea and then produces at last the result the customer deserves. Thank you for listening.